And welcome in, everyone, to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show with Tony Skinn. I'm your host, Bill Rowland. We've got a packed show for you tonight. Of course, we're going to talk to Coach Skinn about the big homecoming win from over the weekend. We've got the head baseball coach for the Patriots, Sean Camp, joining us in the second segment. He's going to talk about their season coming up. Hard to believe that baseball season is already here, but it's just around the corner. And then finally, in our last segment, Tony will return and we'll get a preview of their upcoming week, including 2 road games on the schedule for the Patriots. But Tony, let's just get right to it. We'll start with a big homecoming win for your guys, 92-84 over Rhode Island. Always good to win at home, obviously, protect the home floor. Always good to win on homecoming.
Yeah, no, it was an unbelievable, first of all, an unbelievable atmosphere. It's one of the best I've seen in a long time since, I graduated in 2006. And I just remember coming out of our shoot-around and just kind of drove through the parking lot. And, for a second, I thought we were a football school. So, it was exciting. They brought the energy, and our guys fed off of it. Obviously, we got off to a little bit of a slow start. I thought the game was going to be actually played in the 50s or the 60s. And, being able to gut that win out and with 92 points, that was an exceptional game for a couple of guys. But that atmosphere, it was second to none for sure.
Talk about that. You guys ended up 92 points. The third time this year you've hit 90. You've been in the 80s a couple different times. The offense has struggled a little bit prior to this game on Saturday, but you get 24 from Darius Maddox, a new career high. You get 18 from Brock Okoje, a new career high. The offense got clicking there, especially in the second half when you guys scored 52.
Yeah, no, again, I just remember as a player, whenever the gym is turned up like that, you get that extra push, that extra adrenaline. And I just thought our guys, when the game could have got out of control a little bit, different guys just found ways to make plays. And again, when Darius Maddox is shooting the ball the way he shot it, when Keyshawn is, obviously doing his thing, and then when Barack is stepping into his role that he's doing now, it's going to be hard to not score points. Obviously, we're a big defensive team, and that's kind of been our niche. But in that night, we had to score some points, and, we were able to get the win.
You talk about, being able to get shots and scoring. It also helps to get shots when you don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
You guys had 2 turnovers in the first half, none in the second half, so 2 for the entire game, which is the second lowest in the NCAA Division I this season. One other game, a team only had 1 turnover. So was that just a matter of, hey, this is the emphasis over the past couple of weeks when you guys have had a lot of time off, or, hey, just kind of fell into place?
Yeah, I think that just, sometimes those things happen. We're making history, obviously, in different ways in different departments this year. We were 0 for 15 from 3 a couple of weeks ago, and then now 2 turnovers. You can't complain about that, especially when, you're talking a 72, 75 possession game, and to only have 2 turnovers at home in that atmosphere, that's unbelievable. And, again, credit to those guys that went out there and played, but played with poise.
Let's talk about that atmosphere again. You talk about driving through the parking lot. The students were incredible at the game Saturday. That has to be, and I know your guys talked about it in the post-game press conference about them not necessarily playing to the crowd, but when a good play happens, you think about the dunk in the second half, Barack to Keyshawn, and they immediately are looking up into the stands at the timeout and pointing to the crowd. That had to get them electrified during the game.
Yeah, again, I'll say it, and I've said it before, that's what, to me, Patriot pressure is. A lot of people were asking what that was, and, was it our defense? Was it the way we guard? Patriot pressure is the way we play, but then also the atmosphere and the fans. And so, again, we fed off of that, and we just had a really, really good second half just with that energy that was in the building.
You talk about the energy. A lot of it came with the back-to-back steals by Okoje in the second half. Mentioned the dunk to Hall. Great defensive play even to start that on the switch. You guys do a lot of switch on offense. He switched and then jumped the pass on the other side. Talk about his game on Saturday. Again, career high 18, couple of big steals there. He really brought some energy to you guys.
Yeah, I don't think it's a surprise. It's not a surprise to me, and I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. We've seen flashes of it. We've seen doses of it. I think he put it together on Saturday. He got downhill. No one can stay in front of Barack Okoje. I've said that before. If the kid played, maybe 4 to 6 more minutes, he'd lead the country in free throw rate. I think he's top 5 even now, just playing about a little bit under 21 minutes. And so, he's gotten so much better on both ends of the floor. He's starting to get a little better feel in the pick and roll. And, as he continues to grow, I think we'll continue to grow as a team as well.
Let's talk about that. You talk about the free throw rate. I got some numbers here for you. He's 5th in the conference in drawing fouls per 40 minutes. He's played the 6th most minutes on your team, yet he's tied with Keyshawn for the most free throw attempts at 84. What makes him so good at being able to draw fouls? Because there are other guys that are quick, there are other guys that are fast twitch that can get downhill, but they don't draw the contact or even search out the contact like he does sometimes.
I mean, he's a smart kid. I mean, you're talking about an 18-year-old that we recruited, obviously, and when we watched him, that's what we saw. He's figuring it out. His pace. He's starting to go fast. So I know early on, I referenced him being, the Corvette and Ronnie being the Oldsmobile. Now he's starting to slow it down a little bit and just finding that medium to just be able to make plays for himself and make plays for his teammates. He struggled a little bit early on just because I thought, for him, it's a faster game. He's naturally talented in that skill set, and he's finding his way, which I expected 20 games in because he is on the floor.
Darius Maddox, again, we've had some questions here from some fans at times about, he's in a slump, he's not shooting the ball real well. Well, 4 for 8 from 3, new career high, 24 points. You were never concerned about Darius Maddox.
I said it before, and I don't know what. If you ever question your best shooter, just go look at the stats. The kid is shooting just under 40% from 3. He's making a little bit over 2, almost 2.5 threes per game. If he has a bad night, that's just the way that it goes. That's not who he is. I'm just happy for him. He works so hard. Even when he has his ups and downs, his attitude is always in the right place. And so just to see him be able to shoot the ball, he made some tough shots. Shots that I don't really necessarily like, but it went in. But I'll celebrate guys that play well with the W any day.
And we got to mention Amari Kelly as well. Big game for him. 4 blocks in the contest. And again, he kind of started it with the block and Koj getting the run out there. He's been really good interior for you guys.
No, he's been awesome. And I say this because I say it to his face. You're talking about a guy that, he barely jumps off the floor, but somehow he ends up with 4 blocks. But his timing is getting better. Obviously, he's got to continue to just get a little bit better with just being a little bit foul prone a little bit. But he's given us everything he can for a 5th-year guy, so I'm happy with him.
Well, again, a great win over the weekend, 92-84 over Rhode Island. We'll talk to Tony a little bit later on in the show about the road coming up. A couple of road games on Wednesday and Saturday this week, and a very log-jam A-10, so 2 crucial games. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk to the head baseball coach of the Patriots, Sean Camp. They have their season coming up in February, just a few days away. We'll get a preview from him coming up as we return on the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show here with head coach Tony Skinn. Welcome back into the George Mason Coaches Show. Head coach Tony Skinn will rejoin us here in the next segment. But right now, it's our pleasure to welcome in from the baseball team, head coach Sean Camp. And you guys are coming off an incredible season. You guys win the A-10 title last year. You go to the Super Regional for the first time in history. You guys win 2 games at the Regional as well. Just a historic season. But you got to turn the page. Now everything starts all over again here, Coach. And you guys have your first pitch dinner coming up on Friday. We're going to throw a QR code up on the screen. So if you want more information on that, if you're watching at home, by all means, just click on the QR code and get all the information there. But why don't you tell everybody out here what you guys got going on Friday?
So on February 2nd is our first pitch dinner. It's something we have every year. Basically, it's our kickoff for our season. And I think the biggest thing for us is to have a really good turnout for a lot of the people to come out and introduce themselves and our guys to engage with them. And I think it's something we've done in the past where it's kind of been our kickoff, right? So last year we had a really successful kickoff. Obviously turned into a pretty successful year. So, this year we have Michael Elias, who's the general manager for the Orioles, coming in town. So, it's a little bit different thing than we've done in the past. But Michael Elias is a homegrown guy here from the city, and we're really excited about that.
It's always fun. I mean, for people to come out because you guys you have Elias here. We've had the Royals GM in the past. Obviously, you guys have always had baseball guys coming in and talking to people. And I think that's interesting. It's always fun to hear from those type of guys. Just a night where you can just kind of get, for lack of a better term, inside baseball stuff. So it's always fun to have guys, especially when they had such a great season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about engaging yourself with the community, and I think that's the biggest thing that kind of is my young tenure as a head coach. Obviously, in playing here is the fact that when I was a player here, I always want to be involved in the community, and I think having people that, like I said, grew up around here, that have gone on to have successful years, and kind of, if you think about Michael Elias as far as what he's been able to do with the Orioles, it's something that we kind of want to transition here. I mean, having a young crew and develop this, that, and the other, and the success they had last year at the major league level is pretty cool to see.
Well, your team this year should be pretty good once again. You bring back some major guys: South Trimble, Connor Dykstra. One of your staff aces, Chad Gartland's back. Talk to me about this 2024 or 2024 baseball team.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We begin our opening weekend, 15th through the 17th, out in Coastal. We'll open up with Coastal, play Duke, and then Indiana. Following weekend we'll play in Purdue. But I'm really excited about these guys just because they're, last year, I feel like we had a lot of grit, and I feel like at times, anytime you have a team that kind of falls in line with things that you have to kind of, revamp this, that, and the other during the season. And last year was the first year as a head coach, so I was able to, try to kind of transition them into different things they wanted to do. This year we got an offense that's really a veteran offense, and what I like about our team is we got some young arms that we can develop and we can get them involved too. And I think we learned a lot about last year. The guys have a bitter taste in their mouth. Obviously, going up the #1 team in the country kind of showed us a lot about where we need to be as a program.
I found it interesting because this day and age, especially at the major league level, it's all about the home run, hitting the long ball. You guys set a school record by far for stolen bases last year. You guys kind of went back a little old school with the speed game. Is that something you just saw that, hey, this is where we can take advantage because it is such kind of a lost art now? Yeah,
so I think pitching, speed, and defense in no particular order is the way I like to look at things. I know that my time when I was playing, what's the hardest thing to control, right? And I think our basketball team does an incredible job in defense, right? So if you put that into a baseball terminology, right, like we're trying to control what we can control and really cause havoc on the base pass. I mean, 164 bases. I think we got thrown out 19 times, which I like to gamble on the base pass. I think that's something that people don't practice defending.
Right.
And I feel like we can do that in our day-to-day operations, this, that, and the other. So you got to be able to pitch. You got to be able to throw strikes, change speeds, work fast. I mean, you got to have good defense. We had a freshman last year, Evan Blanchard. Not a lot of people know about it. He had 995, fielding percentage, which is unheard of. Our pitching was, we led the A10 in strikeouts. We were #1 in a lot of categories.
I think ERA as well. I think
ERA as well. So I think carrying that on this year, especially with an older group of guys in the offense, really can kind of dictate that. So
celebrated homecoming over the weekend, and we've talked about it a lot with Tony coming back to where he played. You're the same thing. You played here in the late '90s. How special is it now to be the guy that's captaining the ship for the baseball team?
I take a lot of pride in George Mason. I grew up across the street. I always tell recruits I could hit a pitching wedge across the street. I came to the basketball games as a young kid. Our guys are always going to be out there supporting the basketball program. We had a good turnout the other night. It was an exciting game. It was probably one of those games where you just kind of it's kind of got like a over and over, day in, day and out. Like they enjoyed so.
Yeah, and they got a shout out from a couple of the basketball players in the post-game press conference.
They were excited.
They
were excited in practice, and that's the one thing I told them. I took them all bowling yesterday, and that's the one thing we talked about before. I like to engage with our guys, take them out, do things, this, that, and the other. They were just excited the other night, and it's a really good turnout. I feel like in sports, it's all about supporting others, and I feel like that's kind of one of my biggest things is being involved.
When they seem like a really fun, close-knit group. It's got to be fun when you've got a group like that, again, kind of like the basketball team. Doesn't matter who's getting it done as long as it's getting done. Your guys seem to be the same way.
It's all about the culture you build. And I think that when you build a great culture, you have a bunch of players that play for each other. And I look back at my career, and I feel like that's the most successful teams I've been on. Those that are willing to sacrifice for others. And I feel like that's how you build a winning culture.
I'll remind everybody again, Friday, February 2nd, first pitch dinner. Give us all details who's going to be out there so folks can come out and see your guys.
Michael Elias will be joining us, our guest speaker. It's going to be from 5:30 to 9:30. It will be at Dewberry Hall. We'll have a lot of fun activities. It's a great way for people to interact and get to know the baseball program.
Well, hopefully they'll all come out. And then I know you said you're going to start on the road because, again, February around here, you can never know. But home opener, do you know off the top of your head when that is?
In early March.
Early March, so we'll make sure that we get everybody out there.
Absolutely.
Support the guys coming up this season. Hopefully back-to-back titles for your boys. It'll be a lot of fun.
Let's
Sean,
look for
thanks
that.
for stopping by.
Appreciate
We
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Sean Camp, head coach of the baseball team at George Mason. Check them out Friday, February 2nd, their first pitch dinner. We'll come back here on the other side. Tony Skinn's going to join us. Talk about a tough road trip coming up for them. 2 games this week as they go on the road. We'll be back. Welcome back to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show. Head coach Tony Skinn. I'm Bill Rowland. And coach, before we get to your road trip coming up this week, I want to go back to the homecoming game and actually more about the homecoming weekend. I was out of practice on Friday. Got to head up with Tim Burns, one of your former teammates, had a nice conversation with him. Wanted to check in with you to see how tough it was homecoming weekend. You've got guys coming into town like Tim, some other guys in town, but you still had to concentrate on coaching a game. So how did you manage to kind of juggle the, hey, I want to see my guys and this is fun, but hey, I got to concentrate on my guys over here, make sure we're prepped for Rhode Island?
Yeah, it's it's definitely a delicate balance that you have to have. First of all, I got to say, I got to give a shout out to Coach Sean Camp. He's a real fan. He texts me after every game, and he's putting some pressure on me. I got to figure out how to not behave at one of the baseball games coming up. But no, again, just staying locked in. It's part of who I am. As much as I want to celebrate with guys, it makes it a little easier for me just because a lot of the guys that you guys haven't seen, I talk to and see all the time.
Right.
Tim Burns is. Me and Tim, we've gotten closer over the years as he's in New York City, and I spent 3 years at Seton Hall. We have a group chat with the Final Four guys where we're chatting all the time, and so for them it was new to come back on campus because they haven't been here for a while. But for me, it's just like the norm in seeing those guys. Sammy Hernandez, Chris Fleming, we talk all the time, and so for me, it wasn't as much of a distraction, and I was just trying to get to the game so we could take care of business and then kind of go show some support for some of the guys that came.
It was interesting for me talking with Tim because, again, you hear Fowler and Campbell and John Vaughn and those guys that are around a lot, obviously Lamar Butler on your staff, but for Tim to even sit down and talk with me and talking about how proud he was of the great start that you've gotten off to, and I don't know if that's going on in the group chat or not, but I was like, that's a pretty special thing you've got when a guy sits down and says, you know what, I haven't been back here in a while. He was trying to figure out the last time I was on campus. He's like, but I'm so proud that one of my guys is getting it done. And at that point, you guys were 14-5. You talked about now 15-5. That's got to feel pretty good because I imagine those group chats, they may not be treating you like Coach Tony Skinn. You're just Tony to them.
Yeah, and for me, it's I am the head coach, but first of all, I don't really pay as much attention to the group chat as I should. There's a lot of silliness going on. But believe it or not, it's not just basketball. It's just a lot of different things. Those are my brothers, and you're talking 20 plus years in our relationship and how that has evolved. And so, not a lot of pressure comes from there. But again, you talk about a guy like Tim who stayed in it, and we've talked about some of this as he's kind of seen some of my journey. He helped me out in a lot of different ways on the recruiting tail, just being in the city. But it was a special thing just to be able to get that win at home and just to see a bunch of different guys in the same place.
2 road games coming up this week. Starts with St. Joe's on Wednesday. They're a really interesting team because they love to shoot the 3. You guys are back in school now, so how tough is it to keep these guys focused? Because you're going to leave Tuesday to go to Philly. You're going to leave Friday to go up to UMass, but they still got to get schoolwork done. How do you guys balance all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, man. You can never feel sorry for yourselves because everybody has to go through it. I think for us, it's one of those things where this is where we have to be able to turn the corner. This is where we have to get better in the department that we so desperately need to, which is guarding the 3. You're talking about a team that shoots a lot of 3s, and they make a lot of them. They're top 10 in both of those categories, and they have a really, really special player that's on the wing that, again, if we can do what we're supposed to, I think we'll be right where we need to be as we start, a 2-game stretch.
Yeah, elite guards there. Eric Reynolds a second. He's one of the best in the league. So it's going to be a real challenge for you guys coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Eric Reynolds is a local guy. Got it. He's put the work in, and he's an extremely, extremely talented player. But again, for us, nothing changes in what our game plan is defensively, and that's we've got to guard the three-point line, and we've got to do a better job in just tightening up our transition defense.
Looking at the A-10 as a whole, and Richmond got a big upset win over Dayton, stopped their, they were at the time had the nation's longest winning streak, but there are 7 teams, they're kind of log jammed right there with you guys at 4-3 or 3-4, so these games coming up, obviously all of them are important, but this is a chance to kind of maybe get a little separation and try to get to the top 4, and obviously that means a lot when we talk about getting to Brooklyn in a double bye.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every game that comes up, it's just as important as the last game.
Right.
But again, you know, coming off the 3-game skid that we have to be able to bounce back and now take care of business at home, I think it's going to be a test for us, but it's a test that I think we'll be in a good spot. We just have to do a better job of getting off to a better start to give ourselves a chance, which we obviously didn't do at GW and at Richmond, but still had a chance to still kind of be in the game. And so we've got to be able to take care of business on the road for sure against a good St. Joe's team. I think, you know, they're desperate, but we also have to now get desperate as well.
Yeah, you guys were kind of that way playing St. Bonaventure and came out with the win. So as long as you kind of play with that type of style and that passion, I think you should be okay on the road.
Yeah, I mean, we're 20 games in at this point, and you know we got to figure out what type of George Mason team we want to be. Do we want to be the team that's in that top 4, or just another average team that in year one people at the end of the day kind of counted us out. We don't want to be that group. We're not practicing that way. And I think we just have, we got a good chance on Wednesday.
It's head coach Tony Skinn. 2 road games coming up. Thanks, Tony, for stopping by. We will see you next week. Good luck on the road this week. That's going to do it for the show today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the games.